Hello one and all, Mickey here. So, catch up time. Where are my videos? What's up with my channel? XCOM 2? Question mark? So, I spent a long time thinking about what I want to do with the XCOM 2 series. At first, I wanted to have XCOM 2 modded and edited to be as much like Long War as possible. Vanilla XCOM 2 is not balanced, to put it politely. Exactly like XCOM EU, you snowball out of control, and mid to late game becomes a grind, doing missions without any challenge to them. But there are mods to fix that, you might say. Don't worry, I will get to mods in a second. As I was saying, the game's not balanced. Early game's impossible commander difficulty is a crapshoot, just like Enemy Unknown. Mid to late game impossible is a joke, where the only fun you have is finding new ways to torture the aliens out in the field. And because my XCOM videos take 20 or so hours to edit, I don't really want to make a boring series that requires that much work. Make videos without editing, you say? I tried that, I didn't like it, many of you guys felt the same way, and I ended up editing subsequent videos as much as ever. So, mods. Oh, mods. Mods are incredible, but when a game is so easily moddable, you quickly find that mods will conflict as they try to edit the same files. And removing the mods don't remove the mod entirely. It leaves an obscure relic of where the mod's data would be located in one of the ini files. And that can screw up the game as it looks for things that aren't there, or even finds the mod's data files and uses them regardless of whether or not you've disabled the mod. And then there's patches and DLC, both of which very often screw up mods you have installed, and by extension the save files that use them. Now when you consider all of that, when you're trying to do a series in which each episode takes 20 hours to edit, you can start to see how infeasible it becomes. Alright, I nearly forgot. Then there's the question of balance. Balancing all those mods and edits to work together in a manner that remains challenging without being tediously easy or frustratingly difficult. Even more so when you include balancing mission timers, which is another matter altogether. And it took the Long War team and a community behind them a very long time to get to a place where Long War was balanced from start to finish. And attempting to reach that level of balance in a game like XCOM is a full-time job. And editing my XCOM videos is already a full-time job. Not to mention, I actually have a job in real life. You know, speaking of those timers, after playing XCOM 2 for a while, I have come to realise how much of a bad idea those timers were. They are an incredibly cheap way of making the game more difficult. A good comparison would be like adding trash mobs, basically random lower level enemies, in with boss fights in something like Dark Souls. More difficult, yes. More fun, no. Mainly because those timers are everywhere in XCOM 2. And best case scenario, you lose and you then don't get the reward and then also suffer the penalty of not doing the mission objective. Worst case scenario, you lose every single one of your soldiers there and then. And even XCOM EU's bomb missions weren't that absurd. If you failed the bomb mission, you would then have time to retreat. And you might say, oh, you can get them back in later missions. Yes, but then you have to waste time doing those missions to get them back when you'd otherwise be getting other more important rewards for doing those exact same missions. Not to mention by the time you do actually get them back, assuming you actually survive that long without them, they will probably be redundant by the time they make it back to your roster. So why are those timers so bad? Basically, it comes down to choice. Let's say in any given situation in XCOM, you have three choices. Hold your ground, retreat, or advance. A, B, or C. In XCOM 2, any mission that has a timer, which is most of them, you really only have one choice. Option C, advance. Holding your ground or falling back usually means that you will lose the mission objective. And I know the obvious response is going to be get good, which, sure, fine, except if you do play good, then the timers don't make any difference whatsoever. You're just ploughing through the enemy as if the timers weren't even there. So you can start to see where the problem is. The timer makes the game more difficult, but it doesn't make it more fun. And if you're having trouble with the difficulty, then the mission's becoming impossible. And if you're not, and you find the game too easy, then it's as if the timers aren't even there. There should have never been instant mission over timers in XCOM. When those timers reached 0, there should have just been a constant influx of enemies coming into the map, thereby giving you a choice: stay and fight trying to finish the mission, or get out of dodge. And as for all the other time missions in the game, which makes up the majority of the rest of the game, a better way of doing it would have been either A, kill all the enemies on the map, regardless of the timer, and you get the reward and complete the mission, or B, choose to complete the mission objective within the timer and leave without killing all the enemies, and still get the reward and complete the mission objective. That alone would have been a nice easy way of giving the player choice, which is what XCOM should always be about. Another idea is having timers in every mission, but having those be side objectives that you're not aware of until you touch down. And before you say, well, people will just ignore them so they don't have to deal with the timers, will they really? How often has anybody said, f*** meld, and then died because they tried to get meld? Go on, Reed. What's the worst that could happen? Go on, Reed. Get the meld. Get the meld. Go get the meld. Get the meld. Get the meld!
Already there. Alien object something over here.
Without choice, no matter how varied you make the missions, they begin to become repetitive. Because, as mentioned, you only have option C, Advance. A good comparison is the game Invisible Inc. For those of you that have played it, it is a turn-based stealth infiltration game. You have between 2 to 4 operatives, as opposed to XCOM's 4 to 6, and you have to make it through a mission, doing whatever the mission objective is, and getting out in the time limit. The time limit being the alarm, because the moment you touch down the mission, the alarm will slowly increase in severity as the turns go on, which then brings down more and more dangerous enemies, and slowly gives away your position. Which is all well and good, but it means that every single mission ends with you running for the exit. Whether things have gotten out of hand or not, you are always dashing for the exit to leave. And that is a surefire way to limit players' choices. And yes, removing the timers makes the game easier. But then again, the game should have been balanced from the start about making the firefights more intense. Leaving and rushing because you have to, because the enemy forces are bearing down your position, and not because of an arbitrary timer. And of course, there are mods to fix this. I know you can remove the timers entirely, which as I said would require the game being balanced around that, or you could use something like the True Concealment mod, which holds the timers in place until you're detected, at which point they will count down. But by default, that gives you less time to work with. So if things go wrong at the start, you're actually even less likely to be able to finish the mission. You could of course set the mod to have the timers be default, so they won't tick down till you're spotted, and when they do tick down, you have a normal amount of time for each mission. But then, of course, that makes the game easier, which means the game must be balanced around that. And as I said, balancing a game like XCOM is a full-time job. It took a very, very talented team of people, far more skilled than myself, with the entire community behind them, a great deal of time to balance Long War. So until there is a full, or at least working progress Long War-esque mod, I won't be making an XCOM 2 campaign series. I'll likely be doing individual custom missions for XCOM 2, like I did for Enemy Unknown, and maybe even a versus campaign in some form or another. And yes, I do realise admitting any of this will mean my channel will take a hit. But instead of pussyfooting around an issue that I've already made my mind up on, because I don't want community backlash, I prefer to just be transparent about my intentions and simply tell subscribers/viewers what I aim to do. And guys, I apologise sincerely, I know this video can sound incredibly whiny, but I simply want to let you guys know what I intend to do with my channel, and why. So, for the time being, that leaves me with two choices for my channel. Do nothing, like I'm doing now, or make videos that aren't XCOM. So I think I'm going to go with the latter. I'm basically going to play games of genres that I enjoy. Anything survival, Iron Man, roguelike, and all at the highest difficulty the games will allow. With absolutely no illusions of being capable of finishing the games on those highest difficulties. Games I'm looking to try are games like Hand of Fate, Flame in the Flood, RimWorld, and the Fallout 4 series I've been looking to do for a long time, once Bethesda has released their survival mode update, playing on the highest difficulty and doing novelty Iron Man runs with different types of characters. And yes, I will be continuing my Metal Gear Solid series, trying to do all the missions, all naked, and all objectives, which I know for a fact is outright impossible. And all of these series will be edited as much as my non-XCOM series were. So any downtime, inventory management, or backtracking will be sped up or removed entirely. This type of editing takes me about half an hour compared to editing XCOM, which takes me, as I said, about 20 hours. So you can see how much more manageable that is. And before you ask, yes, I will actually continue my XCOM EW Long War II series, so don't worry about that. So guys, I apologise for my hiatus again, and sorry for the subsequent lack of XCOM 2 videos. If nothing else, I will have videos that will feature Impossible Iron Man, so keep your eyes peeled for them. Also, I'll probably stream a couple of series on Twitch and then do the editing for each episode, much like I did for the XCOM Versus campaign with Squee. So you can either watch the raw unedited episodes live on Twitch, or the lightly edited versions on YouTube. As I said, with things like downtime, inventory management, and backtracking cut or fast forwarded. And I don't say anywhere near enough, thank you all so much for your views, likes, comments, and subscriptions. So guys and gals, thank you for watching, thank you very much for your patience, and I hope to see you soon.